Hello and welcome to Zenatta Consulting's monthly tutorial series. This tutorial is for September 2022 on the Zoho Learn full product tutorial. I'm Greg Belknap.
And I'm Josh Oliver. Let's get right on into the tutorial.
All right. Today we are going to be talking about what Zoho Learn is, as well as getting a bird's eye view of the product. Also talking about how you can create your knowledge base inside of Zoho Learn, as well as creating courses and other learning opportunities. And then, of course, how you can see how everybody's doing with reports. And then finally, we'll take questions and answers from you guys, our audience. And let's kick it over to Josh to go right into what it is.
Yeah, so what is learning management? Zoho Learn is a full LMS solution, and LMS stands for Learning Management System. What this allows you to do is basically house all of your team's knowledge into a nice platform that you can grow over time, and then also aids for training new employees or qualifying existing employees on their skill sets. So inside of Zoho Learn, we can build a team's knowledge base, we can build training programs, and then we can also measure those training programs across the different courses that we create. If you do have Zoho One, it is available with your Zoho One subscription, or you can also purchase this as a standalone application as well. And then lastly, it helps you capture and retain your team's knowledge, like I said. So yeah, it's a great application. There's a lot of cool little features in it, and the best thing is it's included in your Zoho One subscription. So let's go ahead and start with a product overview first, and then we'll dive in a little bit deeper.
Okay, let's hop on into Learn. So we're taking you actually through our Zenatta instance of Zoho Learn because we like to use this app every single day. So Zoho Learn is divided into a couple of different sections. We've kind of alluded to them before. You've got the knowledge module and the learning module. Those are the two main hubs inside of Zoho Learn. Knowledge is where we keep articles, and we can group those articles as manuals. Then in the learning, we have courses that we'll talk about in more detail. You also have spaces, which allow you to sort of segment your Zoho Learn into different learner demographics. So for example, in our portal, we've got spaces for the developers versus our Zenatta standards and practices, which we put everybody into. So you can use spaces to group manuals and courses together. And then you can also have individual permissions set for those spaces and for the users to determine who has access to what content. And speaking of settings, there are quite a few that you can use around here. You can decide that your initial landing page for your Zoho Learn, are you focused more on people logging in to use the knowledge base, or do they need to go to check out a space first? Or if you're just doing courses, you can have them go straight to the learning page. Similarly, you can turn off one of these modules entirely if you don't plan on using one. No sense having it there if it's not going to have anything in it. You can also do a lot of custom branding, make it really look like it's within your company. In addition to the branding, you can also set a custom domain if you so choose. You can also set up categories that different courses can be grouped within, similar to spaces. You can also set up templates if you're going to be creating a lot of articles and you want all the articles to have a similar structure. You can create these different kinds of templates for different kinds of articles that people can use over and over. Make it a little bit easier for people to kind of jump in and get started when it comes to filling up your knowledge base. Here you can also manage any tags that you create on any of your articles, as well as an audit log of any activity that is going on. If you are using Zoho Learn as a standalone application, here is where you could invite or manage your user list. If you are using Zoho Learn as part of Zoho One, like we are, then clicking either invite users or manage users will simply take you to your Zoho One admin panel. And that is the gist of what Zoho Learn is for. Again, we'll be seeing that we have a knowledge base and then a place to apply that knowledge and assess individuals inside of the learning space. Another final note before we hop over to talking about building your knowledge base is that when it comes to this knowledge base and learning, these are designed for your internal practices. If you are, this isn't so much for people outside of your organization. If you wanted to create courses that other people outside of your company could sign up for and take, that's not really what this is for. For that, you'd probably want to go more in the route of Zoho Creator if you wanted a custom application, or there's another app. Josh, can you remind me? I know there's another. I believe it came out. Was it last
Zoho
year?
Showtime, and then Trainer Central.
Trainer Central, that was the one I was thinking of. Trainer Central. Trainer Central, that would be for if you were wanting to educate people outside of your organization. And seeing as how Josh is so knowledgeable about that kind of stuff, let's just go ahead and hop over to him, talk about creating a knowledge base.
So inside of Learn, again, we have our spaces and we also have the knowledge tab here. Knowledge is more so kind of your knowledge. It's kind of geared towards your manuals and the articles that you create. There's also some other tabs in here. So if you have an article that's shared with you, that would be in here as well. And then certainly if you create any bookmarks in any of your articles, that would show up in this tab. So the knowledge tab is really geared or centered around your personal knowledge, anything that's owned or that you're interested in, that will all show up in this tab here at the top. To find other articles, that's where you go into spaces. And spaces, like Greg had mentioned, it's really, it's a way to organize these different manuals into different user groups. So maybe a certain stakeholder needs to have access to these manuals, but other stakeholders should have access to the other manuals, and maybe you don't want them to share across. So spaces is one way to do that. Within spaces, you create a space, and then you are able to add members to that space. And so here we can quickly see the members of the space, and then we can manage and add members this way. Within when we add a member, we can either specify them as a member, an admin, and so on, and that controls their permissions as what they're able to control within that space. And then again, it's just really a folder for any of the articles within it, or manuals rather. So we have a space, and then we have manuals. And then within a manual, we have articles. So that's kind of the hierarchy. You have article at the bottom, then manuals, group articles, and then spaces, group manuals. That's essentially how Learn is organized. Inside of a space, so here's a space we created for Zoho One. This is going to show all of our manuals around this one topic. And we have a few different manuals in here. And here's an example of one way you could do it. And we have a level 1, level 2, level 3, different types of articles and different levels of articles that we're trying to create and share. Within level 1, we have all of these ways we can organize it. So we have lists at the top, and then we can create articles within these chapters. Sorry, that's what they're called. So we have chapters and then articles. Essentially what we're looking at here is just a document. So a document, if I create a new blank article, let's say new article, I can specify where this article is going to be located. So which space, which manual it's going to be in, and then which chapter it's going to be in. I could create a new chapter at any point, or a manual as well. And when I create the article, it's going to look very similar to Zoho Writer. So when this opens up, you'll see on the left, this This all looks very similar to Zoho Writer, so it's likely they're just using that back end. Within here, of course, we're adding text. We can format this text with different formatting options, but we can also insert other things. So maybe you want to add an image or certainly a table. The really cool one is adding videos. So if you wanted to embed a video from YouTube or a different service that you have, this is a great spot to create to share those videos with your team and maybe create an article around that. So here, a lot of our articles, they do have videos. Maybe not any of the, here we go. So here's one conversion mapping. We created a video on YouTube and then we just loaded that right into this Learn article. And some other cool things about this is when I'm looking at this, I can see 21 people have viewed it, or it has 21 views and 11 users have viewed it. So that's some reporting you can do there. And we'll talk more about those reportings later. Other things you can do on articles, we can comment. Here's that bookmark tab that I had alluded to earlier. So if you bookmark this, this will show up on your My Learning tab. And then we can also add it to favorites. Other things we can do are copy this, export as a PDF, and there's a few other little minor things in there. You can save it as a template, which means if you wanted to create another article similar to this, then we could just basically load in that template and make a few little changes. So that is a cool little tip there. If we scroll to the bottom, we do have a few other things we can do, such as tags. So tags are a really cool way to search for these in the future. So if I search for leads or search for conversion, this article would appear. I'm hoping eventually Zoho Learn will release an API, which will allow us to search for these articles using API, but unfortunately that's not there yet. One other thing you can do is you can say whether or not this was helpful to you. So yes, no, here's how you do it. So you say yes, there you go, a little yes there. And we can add attachments. So attachments would just be a simple attachment. One cool thing about this is the commenting and collaboration feature. So if I added a comment, then that comment could be replied to and so on. So that is essentially the creating of an article. Again, once this article is created, you can add it anywhere you need to. And other cool things is if you needed to move this article, let's say you created it in this one workspace, or this one manual, but you actually wanted to move it to somewhere else. A little tip here is if you just click the three dots, you can move this article anywhere inside of the knowledge base. So maybe you wanted to add it to Zoho Creator. I'll redo that for the team, but that's how you do it. So that's a really cool feature because you can actually move these around the whole learning space without having to duplicate it and copy it over. Other things, you do have a few other little settings here. So if you wanted to change your layout, change the font, you do have that, and you can throw a little banner in there too, set it to full width, and then you can apply that to everyone as an admin. So those are little features within the spaces. And again, this is all just around just creating a knowledge base, so adding in the information let's put it in an article so that other members of the team will be able to surface that information and hopefully learn at the same time. So now we're going to talk about courses, and I'm going to hand it off to Greg to show you how to create those and what are some cool possibilities with that.
Great. So you've got a bunch of information in your Zoho Learn, but now you got to find out, do your people actually retain any of it? And that's what we could do here with the courses is we can create quizzes, assignments, lessons that you can use to kind of parse out information for them and test them on it. Now, a course doesn't have to include any quizzes, but that's most often what you'll probably be using it for. Inside of editing a course, you can set up different chapters within that course, and then inside of those chapters are lessons. And within each of those lessons, there are a couple of different lesson content types you can put in. So inside of this chapter called strings, I've already got a text piece of content as well as a block piece of content. I'll talk about that in just a second. But we can add another kind. So if I have a new lesson, and when I first add the lesson, I have this add content button that shows up. And here's where I can decide what piece of content do I want going in here. Do I want to add a video, add an assignment, a quiz, a document, or text? And then blocks are where you could have an assortment of multiple other content types. So if I come back into the fields that are string type, this is a block. So here I can add text, lists, images, videos, an audio clip, another document that I want to upload. And then you also have this option that doesn't really show up elsewhere called process, that if you add that one in there, this creates kind of a sliding, just slides. It creates some slides that you can put, steps that you want your learners to see and be able to like swipe left or right to go between the different steps. And then one important thing to note is that once you select what type of content you're putting in here, then this content type has now been kind of solidified. I can't change what content type goes in here. I can change what this assignment is, but now, for example, I can't change this to a block or text or a video. I would need to, or if I wanted to just switch to a block, I would actually have to delete it and then re-add the content to get that different content type. Let's talk about the quizzes, because like I said, that's the kind of thing that you'll probably be using a lot. So when it comes to creating a quiz, there are 4 different kinds of questions that are offered inside of Zoho Learn. A single choice where it's multiple choice and there's only one answer. Multiple choice, which that always gets a little bit confusing to me, is when you've got single choice and multiple choice, but they're both multiple choice questions. It's really about whether or not there's one answer or if more than one of the options can be correct. So single choice means there's only one right answer. Multiple choice means there's more than one right answer. And people need to check the boxes of all of the options that are a correct answer. And inside of these types of questions, they're structured mostly the same way, except when it comes to saying which one is correct. That you'll have a question title. You can also add an additional description to that question. Here we have a rich text field that we can add and format inside of. Then inside of here, you have all your different choices where, again, these are all rich text fields. So you can put in, you can format with bold, italics. You can even insert images or videos or tables into these options. And you can also insert a code sample if you're working particularly in the software realm. You can add the additional choices down here. I have never run into a limit of how many choices you can add, but I also haven't tried to hit the limit. So hopefully you won't run anything there. You can also turn on optional settings for these questions of providing custom feedback so that whenever somebody answers, you could provide a little bit more context about why the answer is a certain thing, and then you can adjust how much score this particular question should be. The other options for questions are fill in the blanks, where you can have a question, and if you can put, you can use this nomenclature of square brackets to put in the blank option. So if I were to say Zenatta is my, and I'll put in the square brackets, and inside of the brackets we'll give the multiple answers that could be true by separating them with a comma. is my favorite, uh, all-time favorite, or uh, least not favorite consulting firm. And so now if I go to preview, and if I start this quiz, I'll go ahead and skip the first two. Then you can see that I've got the blank option here now where I can fill in with the right answer. When a user finishes a quiz, depending on the options that you've set up, they can see whether or not they've answered. So here I can see that I skipped these two questions and I answered this one. I still haven't submitted it yet. Once I hit complete quiz, then that's me submitting it as complete. Here I can now see what my score is. I only got one. Well, it's only answered one question. Depending on the settings that you put for your quiz, you can have a user have multiple attempts, or you can also have just a single attempt. And then the last question option was the descriptive option, which is a long answer, right? Where you have a question here, you can have an additional description, and a learner will need to write a short answer or very, very long answer. Just really depends, I guess, on the question. And then lastly, I want to talk about where it says from question bank. So I'm going to hop out of the quiz and lesson editor right now, going back to the main learning page. And up here, we've got a couple of sub-tabs. So right now, what we've been looking at is if you're creating a quiz. So that's under the My Authoring tab, right? Anything that I am creating. Up here, you also have My Learning, which is any courses that I'm enrolled in. Explore is where if my organization has published any courses that they've labeled as public, I can browse the catalog here and join whichever course I want. But I want to talk right now about the question banks. So here, question banks are where you can bundle up questions together when you want to use them in all sorts of different quizzes, which I highly recommend using because while there is an option for cloning an entire lesson, there is not a cloning option for cloning a particular quiz. So if you want to be able to use questions in a lot of different lessons, or if you want to create a large bank of questions and then have a smaller subset of them randomized for your learners so that they're not taking the same exact quiz over and over, you'll want to use one of these question banks. And so here I can have inside of a question bank, I can assign different topics that my questions have to do with. And in here, this all now looks exactly the same as the editor that I was just in, right? I've got my questions over here. Here I can add if it should be single choice, multiple choice, fill in the blank, descriptive, etc. Another option that is on here is I can set whether or not a particular question has a time limit that I think somebody needs to go fast or slow on a particular question. And once I've created all of those questions in here, now if we go back to the authoring and we go back to that lesson editor, if I go to edit the content of this quiz, I can choose to add from one of those question banks. So I can do a random set of questions. So if I say, all right, let me pull from the deluge questions, and here I have all of those question topics separated, and I can decide how many questions do I want pulled from each of these sections, and then how many points should each of those questions be. So let's say, all right, I want 3 from the data types section, and we'll get 2 from the building JSON data section. And the building JSON data one, I'll say that that's a little bit more high level, so maybe I'll say that that's 3 points per question. I can add that to the quiz. And so now I've got these sections here where I can change how many questions are being selected or the score, but I can't go in and edit any specific that I want, this question to be this score, this question to be this score, because it's going to be randomized. But what you can do, if there are specific questions that you would like your users to answer every time, so let's say I've got 2 questions that they should always answer first, and then they can do a set of random ones. But there's 1 or 2 that I definitely want them to hit. Then you can also select questions from a question bank. And so if I come here, I can see that while I'm selecting a question, that there are already 3 out of 6 questions from this data types topic that are already being used in the randomized section. So that means that it's saying here that I can only select 3, up to 3 of these questions, because more than that, then there wouldn't be enough for the randomizer to pick from. So let's say I want to pick these 2 and then this one from my parsing data. Then I'll add that to the quiz. So now I can see here are those specific questions that I have copied over. So here now I can't edit the question itself, such as, which is the correct answer or anything like that, but I can adjust the individual question score. And again, when it comes to creating these lessons, once you are ready to publish, once you've filled out your lesson, then you can add learners from your user list to participate in this course. When it comes to adding the learners, you can add specific users, or you can also publish it to be sent to the entire hub, so your entire organization. In which case people could just enroll themselves, or you can have it set to the default, which is that they have to be invited to participate first. In addition, you can set up notification settings for when a learner completes a lesson or a quiz. Do you want to get emailed about it? Do you want to receive a notification? You can get way down to the nitty-gritty about all the branding to make it look whatever way you want. You can add tags. You can also add additional users as co-authors if you want help building this course. Because by default, if you're creating the course before you've published it, nobody else can see it. But if you want someone to help you out before it gets published, you can add them as a co-author. In addition, you can also have uploaded files here as resources. If you wanted to have, let's say, I guess the equivalent of a textbook that somebody could go back to look at, this is where you would upload that media. And then finally, there are even further customizations that you could do with how people enroll in your course, if your course has an expiration, how long somebody should take to finish this course, whether they can mark themselves as complete or if they have to be approved by an admin, and then finally certificates that you can then present to your employees once they have completed a given course. Yeah, that is how we create those courses for evaluating all of our learners. And let's kick it over to Josh to now talk about how, once we've gotten people to get in there, build content, take courses, how do we see how everyone's doing with reports?
All right, thank you, Greg. So inside of reports, this tab up at the top, we do have access to a few different areas in here. Starting with My Reports. My Reports is going to show you anything that you've enrolled into, and maybe you've started it, maybe you haven't. So in this case, I've enrolled into two courses. I haven't started either of them. They're both in progress, and once they're completed, they would show up here. So this is my report. I can see this. I can go into each one of these and see what my completion is. So in this case, I've completed the first step here, but I didn't complete the video, but I did complete the quiz. And then I have yet to start the week 2 items here. So as far as the My Reports, pretty basic. It's just going to show you anything that you've worked on. If you are an admin, you're able to look at multiple learners. So if I wanted to see across the team, we have 16 learners. What has everyone been up to? So Brett hasn't enrolled into anything. He's kind of just a newbie inside of the Learn right now. But we have other users that are very active inside of Learn here. So we have Lucas and a few others. JP, they've enrolled into a few different courses and they have completed a few items there. If I go back to other little cool things to look at, average process of completion, 6 days, average time spent on a course, a few little metrics there. One of the nicer reports that I like to look at are either the individual learner report or the individual course report, because this is where you can really nail down. Starting with the learner, it's going to ask you to select the learner first. You can either select it here or you can click this drop down here. I'm just going to pick on Hunter. Hunter's been one of our devs on the team, and he's done a lot inside of Learn. And this certification quiz here, he has completed that, so I can see when it was enrolled, what day he actually started on the course. So it looks like he started the same day he enrolled. And it took him 5 days, 4 hours, 20 minutes, and 11 seconds. That's very precise, but that's what you get there. He's completed 100%, but it still says it's in progress. So he actually hasn't received his certification yet. But if we look at it, inside of this course, there's a few different quizzes. So he's completed the quiz within the course, but the course is still open. We might add another quiz at a later time, and that's why the course technically is still open. Even though he has completed the quiz. So this quiz, it took him 45 minutes, 100% complete. And within here, we can actually dive in a little bit deeper into all of these answers. So I can see there were 50 questions. It was a 40 scored correctly and out of 50. So that is a passing score in our cases. Took an hour and 30 minutes, and I can nail down exactly what were some of those tricky questions or one of those that he didn't get correct. So it's a really nice place to look and dive into individual learners. You're also able to see a few other things up at the top here. So the pass, of course, 46 correct. Oh, looks like this is showing me different information here. So this is the individual learner, and then, these are generic information. So to get a passing score, this is 40 out of 50. You have to get at least 40 out of 50 correct, which Hunter got 46 correct. So that's a pass. And then he was allowed 5 attempts, but I believe he only took 2 attempts. So you can see 1 attempt here and second attempt is what we're looking at. So if I look at the first attempt, I'm guessing, so 40, he only had 40, and there are a few more questions that he did not get correct. But at his second attempt, he was able to improve that score to a 92%. And it only took him 7 minutes on this second one, but on the first one, you can see it took a little bit longer. So they are, in this case, able to attempt it 5 different times, and this is how we can report on that for an individual. If I go into the individual course report, that's going to dive in specifically on a particular course. And one course we have that we use quite a lot is the certification quizzes. And in the future, we're going to have more quizzes to list here, but right now we just have one CRM certification quiz. I can see there's 11 learners, 2 are yet to start, and we have 9 in progress. That's at the course level. If I go into the quiz itself, now I can see there, again, 11 learners, 2 yet to start, 2 in progress, and 7 completed. There were 4 passes, 3 fails, and we can look at these stats here and see their scores, how many attempts have happened, and then time spent. So this is all great information. As a course leader or a teacher, this is really good for you to look at and maybe follow up on any one of these learners. And then, of course, it also gives you insight on maybe ways you could improve the course, add additional resources to maybe build up their skill sets. And then this is where you, of course, look at it. We have a lesson tab, and then we also have a learner tab within the course, and this just shows you everything at a very high level. So if I had multiple quizzes within this one course, then I would be able to report on all of those at this tab here. At the top of the screen, we do have some just generic information. Again, so 58% average response, 14-day average time spent within the course, and that is that. If we go back into reports, I did skip over this one. If I just click on it, multiple course reports. This is going to show you over all of your courses that you have, what are the stats over everything. So I can look at Zoho Creator. Here's a course that we have 7 learners and 1 in progress, 6 yet to start. We haven't had anyone complete any of these yet, and that's more by design on our end because we are going to continue adding course quizzes to these courses. So they're not ever right now. They're not completed. Just because the course has not been fully defined. Once it's fully defined, then we'll allow our employees to go all the way to the end and get that certification. And then you can see here's 5 published, 5 unpublished courses up at the top. I'm going to click back into reports. The last one here is this knowledge analytics. This is a really high level report to show any new articles created, any article edits over the last, looks like 7 days, but we can filter that to say maybe this year. So we can see quite a lot going on in April as far as new articles created inside of our hub. We have a few edits, and this is essentially how you report on these high levels. So we have edits, comments, user activity, comments, edits, and new articles. These are not clickable, so it does allow you to hover over these, but unfortunately you can't click on them to dive in, but you do get the option to see at a high level what those values are. So that is essentially all the reports. And then, of course, the scores, that's all controlled by the courses that you set up. So based on the correct or wrong answer, that's all going to feed into these reports at the end. Ultimately, you're going to end up with a bunch of reports that's going to show completions across the board, and then hopefully get some of those certification badges out to your employees. So that is the reports. Next, we're going to get into Q&A.
All righty.
Greg, you want to take this first one?
Sure thing. Oh, hold on. My eCam screen disappeared. Well, let me pull up. Make sure I've got the right one. Ah, yes. Oh, sorry, got it on the wrong screen, so I'm looking away. This is the love of the beauty of live television. Anyway, Artie Beatty, a classic commenter on the CRM Zen show. Love to see you here. Asking, can articles be created in Word, or does it have to be written in Zoho Writer? The answer to that is it does not have to be created in Zoho Writer. You can create a document in Word first, and on any of the manual editing pages, where there's a little button in the bottom right corner, there's a big plus sign. Gives you the option to either create a new article from scratch in Writer, use a template that you've stored in Writer, or you can upload an existing file that you have on your desktop. Whether it's a doc or a page from, isn't Pages the Mac word processor? I'm using a Mac. I've never opened Pages.
I haven't either.
Yeah. But yes, to answer your question, yes, you can upload other file types.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can you embed videos natively, not through YouTube, just basically add that video directly to the document? The answer is no, unfortunately. I think it's more so a storage limitation. They don't want you to just throw a gigabyte file on a document. So what the only possibility for getting those videos is through embedding it through YouTube or another service like Loom, or there's a few other services out there where you can host these videos.
Or you could also upload it to Work Drive, put it on your
Sure.
Work Drive, and then you can get an embed link from the Work Drive file and put that into your Learn
Absolutely,
article.
yeah. Keep it in Zoho. Yeah, absolutely.
Connectic asking, are there any Zoho courses already existing somewhere, or a database of public courses that could be integrated into Learn? I am not familiar with any. I haven't seen any kind of like public Zoho course catalog. I imagine just because it's such a, because you could use Zoho Learn for teaching anything, and Zoho can, Zoho's like, well, we don't know what people want to quiz people on or make here. So no, so no pre-built courses anywhere, unfortunately.
All right. Mauricio Mora asks, just to confirm, we cannot have courses and spaces, only manuals, correct? Um, well, it's a little different for courses. Courses are organized outside of the whole manuals and spaces. Really, you can create a course and then you publish that either to the hub or you can invite users to it manually. So it's kind of exists outside of the spaces. And if you want it to be public, just post it to the hub or publish it to the hub and everyone will have access to it.
Yeah, right on. Uh, Mauricio again, can we have a course in different languages, even if we do the translation? Uh, or we need to create one per language? I'm not familiar with any native translation settings inside of Learn. So I believe you would need to create the course um, for each language, and then you, uh, yeah, I guess you just need to invite particular users to a particular language, or people could just access all of them. Maybe somebody particularly wants to challenge themselves and take it in a language that is not their first. But yeah, you would need to create one course per language, as far as my understanding. Josh, you know anything different?
That's what I've been seeing too. I actually was just doing some research while you were looking into that. I was not able to find any language settings within courses or articles. So, yeah, if you needed to create anything specific in another language, just go ahead and create that as a separate course or article.
Hmm.
All right, Mauricio, again, we got a third question here. Can we block the my learning and my authoring for users that won't create any material at all? I think this would be done in the space settings. So under spaces, you would have the option to edit their user profile to either be a member or an admin. Now, Greg, do you know if we can prevent them from creating articles if they're added to a space?
I'm checking on that right now. So, like, if I go into our own, if I go into one of our spaces, and is Mauricio asking about courses or articles in particular?
I think this would be articles because this is what shows up under the, well, it's both. My
Oh, correct.
authoring.
So
Oh,
let's see. If
this
I'm
is just for courses. Sorry. My learning and my authoring is under the courses category. You do have knowledge base, which is my articles and my manuals. But as far as the learning and authoring, that is under courses.
Yes, so certainly within a course you can set it, but I think what Mauricio's question is like, if somebody is a just a user versus an admin profile, um, can they be restricted from creating courses? And the I don't believe there is a way to restrict that as of right now, because I know that like one of our users, Hunter, who you just notoriously picked on in the reports section for no clear reason. Don't know what he did
Sorry,
to you.
Hunter.
Um, but Hunter is he is not an admin, I believe. Just double checking. Yeah, Hunter is a user in Zoho Learn, but Hunter has actually created content within um, the within the system. So at the moment, no, there's no specific um, granular customization for general permissions.
All right. Connect IC. Is there any link between learn and people? No, unfortunately, not at this moment, or not that I've seen, at least. Certainly, people will connect to Zoho One, and those users will show up there. But if you need to access the learning articles in the knowledge base, that all needs to be accessed directly through Zoho Learn.
Yeah,
Um,
Learn is kind of an island right now. It's a great application, but it doesn't really talk to any other apps as far as far as we've seen. We
Mhm.
certainly hope that it can at some point, but I think it's just still so fresh in the Zoho sphere. It's still that when the giraffe first plops out and it's got those wobbly legs. It's still an infant. So
Yeah.
still
If Zoho is listening, we would love to see an API supported for Learn because we've already had a few clients ask about it as far as surfacing some of these articles just based on tags or other keywords. So that would be
Mhm.
really cool to see.
Yeah. Connectic also asking, is there a way to import or export courses or articles from other customers or from other Zoho instances? So there are, so as we mentioned before, you can import like articles from, just any kind of standard document type, whether it's a PDF or a Word doc or another Zoho Writer doc. For the courses, there is not any kind of importing for a course. You can within Zoho Learn, you can clone a course within a Zoho Learn instance. But no, there's no course importing option or exporting option for that case, which is one of the reasons why I recommend in the course creation section that you make sure that within Zoho Learn you're creating your questions first in a question bank so that they can be kind of moved around wherever you need them, versus having them get kind of stuck inside of one particular instance of a quiz.
Mhm. All right, RDBD, is there an order in which things must be done in the various modules areas or best practice? So, to create an article, I think this is what this is kind of going around. The articles live within a space, and then within the space, you have a manual, and then within that manual, you have that article. Um, you technically you have to have a space, so that space has to be created, and then the manual has to be created as well, so you can create that article. But it'll walk you through all those steps. If you go to try to create an article and you don't have any spaces or manuals yet, it's going to prompt you to create those while you are creating that article. So it will walk you through it. So don't worry about messing anything up, but you will need that space and manual before you can create an article.
Mhm. And then I guess also within manuals, you do have chapters, and the uh, just see Hunter is in the chat, and he's letting us know that he forgives you for
Thanks,
throwing
Hunter.
him under the bus.
He had great scores, so it's not like I threw him under the bus.
Right, right, right. But nobody likes their laundry, whether it's dirty or clean, hung out for the world to see.
True.
Connectic asking, can we print certificates once a course has been completed? I know you can award the certificates. As far as printing them, that I actually don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you actually
Shouldn't say.
receive that certificate, it's a PDF. So certainly you could have that emailed, printed. It's not going to auto print that, of course, but certainly you can print that PDF that you create. And I believe whenever you create a certificate, there's some default certificates that you can choose from, or you can create your own. And like I
Break
said,
that up.
it's just going to export as a PDF or JPEG.
Yeah, that would be the next step for Zoho to build in just like a shopping cart. Like I would like to order, an embossed plaque of my of my certificate.
Yeah.
Or like one of those. Ooh. How about those like those really cool like where it's like a piece of glass and they've like laser etched the thing into it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd
and
be
you
nice.
can spend a lot of money on diplomas. I spent like $300 on my college diploma, so there you go, Zoho.
I think my college diploma is still just sitting in a box in my like spare room. I have not shown that piece of paper the respect that, well, I don't know. Have I shown it the respect it deserves? I mean, it's just a piece of paper. Whatever. Yeah. Heck, we got some folks on here that didn't get one. So, and hey, if you just figured out life on your own, great.
Kudos.
Who
Yeah,
cares?
absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, that's gonna do it for us here on the full product tutorial for Zoho Learn. Very glad to have you guys here. Uh, we would love you to follow us on your favorite social media apps. Subscribe to the Zenatta YouTube channel. If you have any questions, you can find us on clubzenatta.com. I'm kind of jumbling up all the different parts of the outro here, Josh, but
On the website is where you'll find the weekly podcast, the CRM Zen Show, where we discuss the latest news on the world of Zoho. We'd love it if you follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us here on the YouTube. See you on the next video and for our monthly tutorial series. You can tell I'm not very good at my script reading, so I just had to read that off.
Great. I think that was great.
Awesome.
Zoho learn. Zoho learn.
Everyone have a great day.
Zoho learn.